Hi everyone, welcome to Michelle on the Money. This is all about your money, from consumer to business news across the bi-state. Well, let's start out at Enterprise Center. All eyes are on St. Louis as the U.S. Figure Skating Championships are underway until Sunday. The skaters who end up scoring the highest and taking home a medal will move on to the Olympics in Milan. Now, 180 skaters from across the country are here in our city, and the St. Louis Sports Commission leaders say that they're hoping to bring in $20 million in economic impact. Well, right now, North St. Louis finally has a long-term blueprint for rebuilding after the May 16 tornado. It's called a Stronger Northside Plan, and it's set for the Ville, Greaterville, and Kingsway East neighborhoods. Our Megan Kernan went to the Ville, where one man has been showing up every day since the storm.
We still look like we got hit by the tornado, and we need some of that type of relief.
Nearly 8 months after the tornado tore through North St. Louis, the damage is still hard to miss. Repairs still waiting, businesses still shuttered, neighbors still rebuilding. Now, the city has adopted its first neighborhood plan in the tornado zone called A Stronger North Side, focusing on the Ville, Greaterville, and Kingsway East neighborhoods first. City leaders say the goal is to fix up existing homes, build new ones on empty lots, support small businesses, and guide long-term recovery in these 3 neighborhoods.
So this plan will help the guidance for a number of different decision makers, including residents, city staff departments, and different private entities who want to see or invest in the neighborhood.
But for people living with the storm's aftermath, progress is measured day by day. And on one corner in the Ville, you will find neighbors helping neighbors.
It just started with me getting up the next day after the tornado and decided I was going to try to cook some food for my immediate neighbors. And then it expanded into what you see right now.
Right here at Larry's Corner in the Ville neighborhood, Larry Gray has been feeding hundreds of neighbors every day since the tornado. He hopes the new city plan does the same by turning promises into real change on streets like this.
We look at housing, for example, and we say, where's the vacancy? And how can we activate these vacant homes into homes that are nice and for family?
That's a great idea if it happens. We just hope that it works for North St. Louis.
In North St. Louis, Megan Kernan, 5 on your side.
Well, also, we know that a local advocacy group is fighting misinformation as thousands of people apply for compensation to the radioactive waste in St. Louis. This is a big story and has been for quite some time. Just Moms STL says artificial intelligence is giving out wrong answers about the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act. It's also known as RECA. The program pays victims who lived or worked in certain zip codes and developed illnesses linked to the making of the atomic bomb in St. Louis. Just Moms warns that bad info can waste time and also give false hope.
So it's interesting, it's a hurdle that we didn't expect. And it's giving false hope, first of all, right? That's very frustrating when somebody gets their hopes up and they're very sick, thinking, okay, I am eligible, and then they find out they're not.
You have to remember that a lot of these people that are applying are sick, and they don't know the answers, and they're searching desperately for them.
For accurate information, Just Moms STL says the Department of Justice's RECA website really is the best place to go. Many libraries we know have also been hosting free help. Just check in with your local branch to see if there is help available. Several daycares in the Metro East are scrambling after learning the federal government is freezing nearly $10 billion in child care funding in 5 Democratic states. That includes Illinois. The Department of Health and Human Services says the freeze ensures that federal taxpayer dollars are being used for legitimate purposes. The owners of an East St. Louis daycare are telling us that a prolonged funding freeze could impact the families they serve.
People have to pay their bills. Parents have to work, staff have to do what they have to do.
It's a domino effect.
So it's gonna put different people in a position, especially the parents. If they come here and say, hey, the door's closed, and I don't think I'd do that. Me, if I have to put them all together in one room.
The Illinois Department of Human Services says it has yet to be notified by the federal government, but calls the freeze a, quote, another politically motivated action by the Trump administration. Well, millions of Americans are facing tough choices when it comes to their health care. With enhanced subsidies now expired, they may find the Affordable Care Act is even less affordable. Ivan Rodriguez breaks down the options.
Extending the Affordable Care Act's enhanced premium subsidies has been at the center of several battles on Capitol Hill in recent months. Now that they've expired, millions of Americans will have to make an important healthcare and financial decision.
As of January 1st, millions of people saw that their premium payments are going up. Some of them may have already dropped their coverage. Other people may have tried to switch from, say a silver or gold plan to a bronze plan, which would have a much higher deductible, but might keep their premium low enough that they could afford to stay insured.
Enhanced subsidies made Obamacare coverage much more affordable, which helped draw a record 24.3 million people to sign up for 2025 policies. Cynthia Cox is a senior vice president for KFF, a nonpartisan health policy research group. She says enhanced premium tax credits allowed lower-income Americans to enroll in policies with $0 or near $0 monthly premiums, while those in the middle class became eligible for help for the first time. Cox says 4 out of 5 consumers were able to find 2025 plans for $10 or less a month.
Starting January 1st, lower income people have to pay 2 to 4% of their income. Higher income people might have no cap on how much they have to spend. They might have to pay full price, which could be 20, 30% of their income.
Open enrollment ends January 15th in most states, meaning there's still time for people to shop for coverage before being automatically renewed into their same plan. I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
The House is expected to vote sometime this month on the Democrats' proposal to extend the Affordable Care Act for 3 years. However, the effort faces significant hurdles in the Senate. The St. Louis County Council is considering a plan to use RAM settlement funds to help fund the county's animal shelter. The county executive, Sam Page, is asking the council to approve more than $400,000. A majority of the funds would go toward food for the animals at the shelter, while the county recently approved budget cuts of millions of dollars from the Public Health Fund. Forestell leaders are taking the first step in a decision that could reshape the city's future. City leaders are talking about more than 400 acres of land that could become home to 2 data centers. The city's Board of Aldermen did a first reading of the bill this week. They are considering to annex 3 properties along the north outer road of Interstate 70 into the city of Forestell, but no formal applications have been submitted at this time. The mayor, Bradley Miller, says this would give the city control and oversight if a proposal moves forward.
We're trying to get ahead of this, trying to be able to annex in the property so that way we can actually have a say on what goes on in our city, because that's the one difficult thing is if it's not in the city, like AFG, they reside just outside the city limits, so it's not actually in the city. The city's really not benefiting anything from AFG, from that standpoint.
Now we will keep you posted on any developments and of course big headlines across the area. A lot of people are talking about data centers. All right, a consumer alert now about inaccurate information being circulated online, steering Missouri drivers in the wrong direction. The Missouri Department of Revenue blames artificial intelligence in this case. Reports claim that the state no longer requires vehicle inspections and has expanded vehicle registration options, giving drivers more time. Well, state officials say Missouri law has not changed and the requirements also remain unchanged. Right now, Missouri's Attorney General is warning about investment scams that could cost families their savings. Catherine Hanaway says Ponzi and pyramid schemes, fake crypto platforms, and high-pressure sales tax are the most common. She's urging Missourians to verify claims, do their own research, and protect their personal information. So the big thing here is if you do fall victim to an investment scam, you should document everything related to that scam. Also notify your bank and report the fraud. If you live or go to the doctor in Illinois, your data could have been compromised. IDHS says between 2021 and September of this year, nearly 700,000 Medicaid and Medicare Savings Program recipients' data was exposed online. So this data includes things like addresses and case information, but not necessarily names. IDHS is not sure who accessed this information, but is letting everybody know that their data may have been breached. They say they are not sure if there's been any misuse of the data either. Well, it is the end of an era for Schnucks shoppers. The St. Louis-based grocery chain will stop sending out ad mailers. Schnucks tells our partners at the Business Journal that more shoppers are actually shifting to digital coupons. Ads will still be available in store, but those last mailers will go out January 28th. 2 popular businesses in the Del Mar Maker District are calling it quits. Steve's Hot Dogs and the fountain on Del Mar are shutting their doors. The owners tell us it wasn't an easy decision. 5 on your side's Travis Cummings finds out how they're pushing forward.
Owning any business right now is a little challenging. Spending practices have changed a little bit. There's some uncertainty. Prices are high right now, they are.
That uncertainty is why 2 familiar names now have closing signs in the Del Mar Maker District. Just a year and a half after opening, Steve's Hot Dogs and the Fountain on Del Mar are closing their doors.
We were making that slight gain, and then the tornado hit and decimated the entire neighborhood. So anybody who was living in the area was temporarily not living in the area. So much competition out there.
17 years in the business, Steve Ewing says rising costs, changing habits, and fewer people in the neighborhood made it harder to sustain.
The rent, and you have the overhead, and you also have traffic changes.
Even after rebuilding from the tornado, recovery in Del Mar has just been slow.
Just nobody was keeping up with our progress, trying to, bring people back. And so the construction recovery is slow. Some people are moving out and moving on to other neighborhoods. And so right now this just is an area that doesn't have a lot of density.
Instead of walking away, both are pivoting. Steve's is preparing for a food truck, something he's always wanted to.
You need to be doing events. You need to be doing catering. So you need to kind of have your hand in a lot of things, and that makes up your entire income.
Food halls, stadiums, residencies. We're looking for opportunities to partner with universities, and that's going to be our focus going forward.
And they say supporting local businesses still matters.
Maybe even venture out of your neighborhood, venture out of your block, and go just kind of check out folks in the city.
Travis Cummings, 5 on your side.
Now, both of the businesses will be open until the 10th. The other locations for Steve's Hot Dogs and the main Fountain location will stay open. Now, we've also learned that Lobby by Union Studio does not plan to reopen after sustaining damage from the May tornado. We can also tell you that a popular St. Louis burger spot is closing 3 of its locations. The High Point Drive-In restaurants in Baldwin, Edwardsville, and O'Fallon, Illinois are now closed. The owners made that announcement on social media this week saying, quote, "This was the hardest decision we've made to date, but a necessary one so we can show up better for our people and our guests." 6 other locations remain open. A Midtown bar and event center is also closing. Work and Leisure posted on social media that they will be holding a final event on January 30th starting at 5 p.m. in the evening. The event is free and open to everybody, and the center says they are closing because of the changing economy. A new option in the diet drug market, and this one doesn't require a needle. Novo Nordisk is now selling its once daily Wegovy pill in the U.S. The FDA approved the pill last month. The 30-day prescription will cost patients without insurance $149. The injectable version comes about at $200 more. We also have good news for you. Your paycheck could be slightly bigger in the new year. Now, this is all based on the latest IRS tax bracket changes that were announced in October. The 2 lowest tax brackets will see an increase of about 4%, and those in a higher tax bracket could see an increase in their paychecks by probably about 2%. Now, if you want to hear the bad news unfortunately is that it's not going to feel like much thanks to inflation. Well, a lawsuit is leaving McDonald's in a pretty sticky situation. A class action lawsuit accuses the company of misleading customers into believing the McRib contains actual pork rib meat. Although the meat is shaped like a slab of ribs, many of us know that patty is boneless. The lawsuit, which was filed in Illinois, says it is not right for the meat patty to resemble a cooked rack of pork ribs when there's actually no meaningful amount of premium cut pork there. McDonald's says it does use boneless pork, water, salt, dextrose, and rosemary extract. By the way, you can still buy a McRib in St. Louis for a limited time. People love those McRibs. If you are an Amazon customer, you may have received a check in the mail, and turns out it's legit. The company is doling out more than $1.5 billion as part of an even bigger settlement with the Federal Trade Commission. The settlement stems from allegations that Amazon tricked customers into enrolling in Prime and then just made canceling too difficult. So the big question is, how much money will you get? The FTC says payouts will be capped at $51. The last batch of checks actually went out on Christmas Eve. And then finally, Chick-fil-A is pulling a page out of Willy Wonka's playbook. The company announced that its Nostalgia campaign to celebrate 80 years in business, and it includes a golden prize. Take a look. So we know that customers can now purchase classic cups starting really soon, and those who receive a special gold fan cup can get free Chick-fil-A for a year. There will be 3,000 of these gold fan cups distributed all across the country. And Chick-fil-A also announced retro packaging and new menu items for all of that celebration. Pretty cool. All right, good luck. That's going to do it for us. Thanks so much for watching Michelle on the Money. For more money stories like these, be sure to join me every day on Today in St. Louis starting at 5 in the morning. We'll see you again next weekend right here on the 5+ app.